let's start with our first story. And cocoa, as Ghana's major foreign export, is the backbone of the country's economy. As a commodity that generates millions of dollars for Ghana, one would expect laborers of this essential fruit to earn a good wage. But that is not the case. In today's episode of the Living Standard series, Love FM's Emmanuel Bright Kweku gauged the economic situation of some cocoa farmers and carriers at Kratchikrum.
Cocoa na eteno. Beko akodono. Sika ro kagoto endro abegu afuo no kra no. Na ya asem.
Cocoa money aye no. Mfaso bia amma. First na ye.
Most youth hailing from the northern part of Ghana move down south in hope for greener pastures. Abdul Rashid may be one of the over thousands who are yet to break the shackles of financial constraints after he moved down south. After his secondary education at Boko in the Upper East region, Rashid returned to his aged father at Kratchikrum in the Ashanti region to take up his cocoa farming business.
Boy kakra papa na bedoye to the boy mama ko school na timi VSS na ono so abre.
My father started this cocoa farming business. He used the money he got to cater for my secondary education. But now he's grown, so I've taken up the job. These dried cocoa beans can be here for almost a week without I gaining any money, unless I borrow money to transport them and use the little I get to pay up the debts. Cocoa, as a golden commodity, provides livelihood for over 700,000 farmers in the southern tropical belt of Ghana. Rashid hoped the cocoa farming business, which catered for all his secondary education expenses, would do same now. But times are not the same anymore. Recent inflation in the country is crumbling his cocoa farming business.
Cocoa na eteno. Beko akodono. Sika ro kagoto endro abegu afuo no kra no. Na ya asem. Because that time na cocoa no person ye ni sika bia e dey e betun dia agu afuo no. Cocoa no mba ya ye ni sika bia e betun dia agu.
The money to even buy fertilizer is even a problem. Until the cocoa is harvested, we cannot get any money for fertilizer. And by the time we harvest the cocoa, the money we earn will be used to pay up the debts. I used to harvest 15 bags, but now I can only harvest 5 bags. Petrol prices are even expensive too.
Petrol board and then I got to petrol. Say we go for now. Full was 10 acres. Guess it was 5 gallons be and sanity to me. We say 1 gallon beyond and 450. And no, you know, against here.
Rashid is not alone in the cocoa farming business. His brother, Isa Abbas, joined him from the north to continue plowing their father's over 10 acres of cocoa farm together. He anticipated a good living condition down south. However, proceeds from the farm are not enough to support his family of 3.
By Santamam say, cocoa Jimaka Krana, Ebe Sika, Atua, Aqua school. Now,
I came down south to earn some cash to continue my education, but it appears where I were is better. I have no other job to fend for myself and family. I rely on this cocoa farming business.
Cocoa Jumana me, Inti Kakra Mayano, Cocoa Sikan Kakra Mayan, and then GD, Cocoa ne, Onyane, Dodoa, and then I would Timia de Eddie Bibi. Inti Emma, why yana Dodoa, Untimi Fire, she.
His wife, Latifa, is fed up with the recent expensive cost of living at the village. One may argue the rural areas are blessed with cheaper and abundant foodstuff, but Latifa does not sing in unison with this notion.
Esa singing ne papa na wo ha. Ena o jamano. Ano so betena ha ono me. First na yeah,
we are not earning enough from the cocoa farm. It was better before, but not now. I've even suggested to my husband to stop farming and find another job.
Nti me catch me ya fire dream say ya beja cocoa no do. Nya ya ko yan gunyo fufura na aye. Yesa cocoa demand de emboa ya kora emboa ya.
The farmers are not the only ones bearing the brunt. Cocoa carriers are also worried over the meager commission they accrue after trekking for hours to send home the bags of cocoa from the farm. Majid and his colleagues carry a bag of cocoa for 3 Ghana cedis, an amount they say is not enough for financial upkeep. We used to carry a bag for 1 cedi 50 pesos, but it's now 3 Ghana cedis. The maximum cash I can make in a day is just 10 Ghana cedis. I can only carry 3 bags in a day. Despite cocoa being a rich source of Ghana's income, these actors in the cocoa industry cannot say the same about their livelihoods.
Well, from there, we'll tell you about some suspects who have been arrested in connection with SIM swap fraud in the banking sector. The Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, in collaboration with the Ghana Association of Bankers, apprehended these suspects at different locations across the country for illegally accessing and drawing money from various accounts. The operation is still ongoing to track down this cartel terrorizing the banking sector. Joining us via Zoom is President of the Fraud Forum of the Ghana Association of Bankers, Ransford Nana Addo Jr., for a conversation on this development. Thank you so much, sir, for joining the conversation. What exactly is swap fraud? Break it down for us. You would have to unmute. Nana. All right, so we'll try to engage Nana on that bit as he tries to unmute and give us the details about what SIM fraud is all about. SIM box fraud is all about. We'll be getting the salient details, but in the meantime, we know that these people have been apprehended on the back of the dubious activities they've been engaging in. Nana, can you hear me now? Hello, Nana, can you hear me? All right, so we'll try to work it out. Hello, Nana, can you hear me? Nana, you would have to unmute so that you can engage us because I still cannot hear you. So we'll return to that story on SIM swap fraud shortly. But she's been dreaming of becoming a journalist, a dream which she wrote down as she sat the 2021 BECE. From Tamale, 16-year-old Ibtisam has gained admission at the Accra Girls Senior High School. Today, she arrived at the school where she hopes to inch closer to realizing her dream. My colleague Manuel Krante went to meet her and now reports.
When I was coming here, I woke up very early. Then my mom brought me to the station and left. So I was in the bus alone. I was sleeping a lot in the bus. Like I'll sleep, wake up,
16-year-old Yehuza Ibtisam Mpahia recounting the 382-mile journey from the heart of northern Ghana in Tamale all the way to the national capital, Accra. Gaining admission into Accra Girls High School is a dream come true for her. She really cannot hide her excitement.
I searched for the school on the net. So I saw pictures of the school and history about the school. So I also decided to come to the school and pursue my studies.
Ibtisam is one of the over 500 girls who are on campus for the very first time. As freshers, their pink checkered uniforms set them apart from their seniors, or rather, their sisters.
When you see any Form 2 sister climbing the staircase, you need to come down for her to climb before you continue. And you can't call them by their names unless you add sister to it. For example, you can't come by stolen unless you add sister stolen to it. And when you are fetching water and see any Form 2 sister with a bucket, you need to take care of the bucket for her to fetch before you finish.
These are just a few of the rules here which must be obeyed by all.
Calling them sister is not new to me, but fetching water, come and you now have to take off your bucket and she fetch before you. That's what is new to me. I'll cry later.
As Ibtisam thinks about all the learning and relearning awaiting her, the loud siren goes off. And like Agi Shakor, the unmistakable statue of a student with her face buried in her book, the Tamale girl is immediately reminded of the real reason she's in Accra in the first place. To begin her journey of becoming a world-class journalist.
I want to be a journalist or a news presenter. I just have passion for it. I'll do all the exercises given by the teachers, and I'll try my best to participate in the lessons going on. Like if a teacher asks a question and I know, I'll raise up my hand and answer the question. I'm not intimidated by the students here or because they are from here, so no, I'm not, because I just want to, I only came here to learn and that's all.
Her father, Yehuza Abubakar, believes in her. He is confident of an even better molded Ibtisam when he returns to pick her up at the end of a 3-year stay at the school.
I had an aggregate 12. I asked their mother to put her in a bus. The mother said no, she has to come with her. I said don't worry yourself, she will do it. I know my daughter. The class, I think they should watch out for her. It's gonna chase them. I expect a very bright results, just like she did in the JSS. And I expect her to even perform more than what she had in the JSS.
I'll miss him a little because every time I'm always with my mom and my brothers, but now that I'm here, I'm all alone here, so I'll miss him because this night I'll be sleeping alone and my parents will be around and it's a new thing to me. Yes, it will be my first time of sleeping outside without my parents.
And there will be many more lonely nights. Only the new faces she's seeing today will become the partners with whom she travels her high school journey. Manuel Cranting, JoyNews, Accra.
Well, let's go back to that story about some suspects who have been arrested in connection with SIM swap fraud in the banking sector. Now, the Economic and Organized Crime Office, in collaboration with the Ghana Association of Bankers, apprehended these suspects at different locations across the country for illegally accessing and drawing money from various accounts. The operation is still ongoing to track down this cartel terrorizing the banking sector. Now, joining us via Zoom is President of the Fraud Forum of the Ghana Association of Bankers, Ransford Nanado Jr., for a conversation on this development. Nana, thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying with us. Like I was asking you earlier, I just want you to break it down for us. What is SIM swap fraud? What is it about?
Okay, thank you very much. Greetings to your viewers. So SIM swap fraud is basically, if you like, a fraud typology where fraudsters clone, or if you like, migrate the functions on your existing phone number to a new SIM card so they can have access to your financial services and defraud you. So basically, you have your phone number, let's say 0244964539, and then somebody through dubious means or collusion with somebody at the network service operator, decides to take your identity or your phone number and put it on a new SIM card, which they will use to access your account details and defraud you. Now, the danger with this is that today, more than 70% of the services that people engage in terms of financial services have the foundation being the mobile number or the mobile phone. So if anybody decides to take over your SIM, then the person is likely to also be able to take over your account based on the level of security that you have access at either the bank level or on your phone. So basically that is SIM swap fraud.
Right, so thank you for giving us the basics there. But then, with SIM card re-registration and all of that going on, how is that possible? Because you cannot take the person's identity as well. So how is it even possible for them to go ahead with this process? Or is it only those who have not re-registered their SIM cards who are at risk?
No, far from that. So the processes for getting your SIM replaced is purely manual, and it's based on the integrity of whoever is seated behind that desk to do the right thing. So typically, if you go to a network operator or a telecom service operator to get your SIM replaced, there are a couple of protocols that you should go through. First of all, whoever is at that desk must call your number to check whether indeed somebody will pick it.
Right.
And should be able to ask you questions about your last transactions, how much credit did you buy, if possible, the kind of mobile financial transactions that you do, and some numbers that you call frequently. These are all things that ideally have been put in place to verify that the person who is coming to swap the SIM and should also have an ID. Now, this typology is either through social engineering, where people go and impersonate others, and through the negligence of whoever is seated there swapping the SIM, it can go through. Or the person who is also replacing the SIM can be a part of the whole scheme or maybe in collusion with the fraudsters to be able to cut your SIM and give it to the fraudsters for use. So the SIM registration has nothing to do with this. Whether you are registered properly or not, if the person who is seated behind that desk does not have integrity to do the right thing, then SIM swap fraud can happen. Ideally, and in the developed world, in UK and France and all that, today, if we are using the national identification card, which is biometrically based, and then you need to maybe put your thumbprint there before the system will allow the SIM to be swapped after authentication, then that is good. But just the mere fact that you have an ID, somebody can just put your picture on it and collude with whoever is there to say that it is actually Ransford who came to swap a SIM. Meanwhile, you haven't been there.
Right. So from what you're saying, what I gather is that some of the staff of some of our telcos could be complicit in this entire thing that is happening. But how common, actually, how prevalent is this? Is it a wide menace that we're facing?
Yes. Years ago, it wasn't so serious. And basically, if you want to take over somebody's account or you want to divert information or you want to give a wrong information, the best way is to take over the SIM and let the person's calls or the person's SMS come to you. So typically, now that a lot more people have migrated to services that depend on the mobile phone, SIM swap fraud has become very prevalent now. In the past, it wasn't because there were a lot of physical transactions face-to-face. But now, so many transactions, either from banks, either from telecoms, either from insurance, they depend on one-time password, which is an SMS that will be sent to the mobile phone. So, yes, it has become prevalent now.
What would you call for to stem the tide of SIM swap fraud, to prevent more people from falling victim? And to add to that, what should we be looking out for, just in case we fall victims? What should we do?
Okay. So, first of all, you need to pay attention to your reception. If all of a sudden you experience no reception or no network on your phone, there's a very high likelihood that somebody has swapped your SIM. Now, to verify this, you need to put that SIM you have into a different phone to see whether it is still the same challenge, and check from other people around whether they also have a similar problem. If it's peculiar to you, you need to call your service provider or rush to the nearest retail shop to inform them of what has happened. Because the more you delay, the more these guys are going to access other services that you depend on through your mobile phone. Now, what we need to do as an industry is to have a very strong collaboration between telcos, banks, insurance companies, and even the e-commerce association as well. Because today, the mobile phone has become one of the most secured way to reach people. However, if we do not begin to, if you like, attach our national ID system, which is biometric, to things like registering the SIM and also giving access to people to swap their SIM. If you go to a point to swap your SIM and then they use biometric identification, then it is a very high likelihood that whoever is coming to swap the SIM is actually the owner of the SIM. But if the system is allowed to operate based on the level of integrity and trust of whoever is employed to sit there and enforce the SIM swap regime, then we have a problem. The second thing is that in the absence of we using the, if you like, the biometric system to identify people who are coming to swap their SIM, we can introduce a maker checker. What it basically means is that we should not allow only one person to swap a SIM at any retail shop. If you do the input, another person should also verify the identity before approving. Yes, we all know that this will slow people from accessing service and all that. But with what mobile phones can be used for now, it is very dangerous for you to allow only one person in any institution to be doing SIM swap without another person verifying and authorizing it. The last thing we need to do is to do a lot of public education and public awareness. Because today, all the institutions within industries are interconnected some way, somehow. If this thing happens in the telecom company, it can affect healthcare. Somebody can receive information on your medical records through SMS because they are taking over your SIM. Somebody can access your bank account details based on the level of, if you like, second factor authentication that exists. Now, that brings me to my last recommendation, that it is not enough to use the OTP on a mobile phone as the only means of authentication. We should be pushing within the industry for more of biometric authentication instead of the one-time password that is sent through the mobile phone.
Nana, I just want to sneak in this bit. How is this impacting the banking sector? My very final bit to you.
So basically, you need to spend more resources. You need to spend more resources in getting systems that have artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities so that you'll be able to analyze customers' transactions and pick those ones that we call odd. Secondly, in the banks, now everybody is pushing a system that will go out of the brick and mortar, so you don't need to come to the banking hall to do some transactions. But if we have this risk, then you'll be calling people to come to the banking hall for face-to-face verification. And that is going to impact on the services that banks render in this country. If we are able to get rid of the menace of SIM swap and we're able to deploy a very good second factor authentication for SIM swap, then you can be rest assured that if you send any sensitive information to your customer, that customer is the only one you are dealing with. But so far as SIM swap is available, it increases the cost of innovation, and then the service would also have to be still some level of physical verification, because if you cannot trust the authenticity of the OTP that you are sending to your customers, then we may have to resort to physical verification, come back to the banking hall.
Thank you so much, Ransford Ado, of course, of the Fraud Forum with the Ghana Bankers Association. There. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. Let's take our next story now. And teenage pregnancy has been a topical social issue that Ghana has battled over the years. According to the Ghana Health Service, 109,088 teenage pregnancies were recorded in 2020 alone. These frightening figures have left many Ghanaians to believe nothing is being done to tackle the issue. But sexual and reproductive health and rights activist Aurelia Soa-Mensah, in her own small way, is steadily changing the narrative here in the Greater Accra region.
Buzzes were life, but beyond the vibrant lifestyles are seething social issues gradually sinking the community. Teenage pregnancy is one of the many social issues it battles with.
The sad part is how they get pregnant. Some people resort to unsafe abortions, and in the worst case scenario, they die.
That is Aurelia Soa-Mensah. She's 27 years, born and bred in La. She has lived all her life here. She spends her time engaging young people on sexual reproductive health to help control birth in the La community.
Others get pregnant, have the child, and because there's really no money at home or there isn't enough money at home, she would have to drop out of school, take care of the child. That child will grow to a certain stage, also become a teen mother, and then the cycle continues.
The lives of many young girls in this neighborhood are changed forever because of unplanned pregnancies.
I wanted to be a nurse, but because I gave birth, my dreams were crushed.
Christiana Ai is 26 years old. She had her first baby when she was 16 years old. Now, the mother of two, she has asked I hide her identity.
I was just 19 years when I delivered my second child. I went through hell after that. It wasn't easy at all.
I
worked with someone who paid me 5 cedis per day. That amount is woefully inadequate, but I had to manage because I had a child on the way. Now, I work at the Makola market. It's just by grace I survive each day.
Aurelia takes time to visit the homes of young girls in her community to educate them on sexual reproductive health.
Most of the time, they don't know what they are doing because some of them are from poor backgrounds. Some of them I think some of them use sex as a source of entertainment. There's no TV at home. How many playgrounds we have in Accra? There are no playgrounds. Some parents can't afford to take their children to the library, to, all those recreational stuff. And so that is their source of entertainment. And so if we can give them the right information, when they go out there, we know, oh, I have given this child this information, so I can trust that she'll make the right decision. And if ever she made a mistake, at least she will know who to go to.
Renelle Lamte is also a teenager who has recently given birth to twins. Aurelia has convinced yet another person to sign onto a family planning method.
So I will not force you, but I will advise you to go on a family planning method. There's the usage of condoms. That one is safer because it prevents both STIs and unplanned pregnancies.
For her work, Aurelia is one of 50 awardees chosen from around the world as speakers in the upcoming 2022 International Conference on Family Planning.
And it also means more work because if you've been recognized as someone who is really doing well in the family planning community or in the sexual and reproductive health and rights community, it means there's more work for you to be done.
Teenage pregnancy is still a big problem in Aurelia's community. But with a new opportunity to learn more and gain resources through this program, she hopes to be a stronger voice that helps to change the narrative. Amma Cromwell's report for JoyNews.
Well, let's have a conversation with Aurelia, who is behind this project. Aurelia, do tell us, you have actually embarked on this project. What is the motivation behind embarking on this drive?
Hi, and thank you for having me. So I think my motivation is basically because I grew up in a very liberal home, and my mom and everyone else around me gave us the information that at the time we needed. For now, we need more, but at the time, they gave us the information that we needed. And I happened to grow up in a community where lots of people didn't get the same information that I was. And so everyone around me was either pregnant at a very young age, a few of them that, you know how rumors like, you hear this girl got an abortion, this girl got an unsafe abortion, and all that. And a few people that you hear about, they are pregnant, they got an unsafe abortion, they died, and all. And so I was fortunate to get the information. And if I have an education with all that extra information, I don't really know why I should sit back and watch other people drown when we can basically help each other.
In other words, you're going to or trying to prevent others from going through something that is indeed avoidable. But how widespread is the problem in your area? It's Labadi. How widespread is it in your community?
It really is widespread. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say 7.
On a scale of 1 to 10, you would say 7.
I would say 7. Because 1 minute you see a teenager pregnant, she has the baby, she drops out of school. 2 years later, that same teenager, because she never went back to school, she really is idle. So she will have another safe sex, unprotected sex, and then gets pregnant again. So you see someone at the age of 20 with 2 kids already, not working, not in school, and then her children are highly likely not going back to school because she can't afford it. And sometimes it is with a man who didn't take responsibility. And so she's in trouble. It keeps happening. And even for adults, there are adults who have unplanned pregnancies, unintended pregnancies. They just happen to get pregnant and they really don't know what to do. You'll be surprised they are older than me who don't have the information. And we can't blame them. They didn't get the information they deserved.
So looking at all these things you're mentioning, you've already started talking about the causes. So there are financial bits in there and sometimes irresponsible parenting, from what I gather.
Yes.
What other causes do you see?
Well, I think the media has a role to play. I mean, young people we consume a lot of things from media. And so if, instead of feeding us with all this, I won't say they are bad, but it depends on the timing and everything of what is being shown on TV. And so if the media can feed us with some comprehensive sexuality education, young people, we are always on our phone, we are always watching TV, we are always on YouTube. I mean, we should do something. And also our churches. Our churches are not giving us what we need. Our churches keep saying abstain from sex, abstain from sex. Abstinence is perfect. But do we really know what young people are doing out there? Not every young person has that kind of willpower to abstain. Let's have the right information. Tell us what to do in case we don't abstain, in case we cannot abstain. Because even if the parents are not doing their job, these children come to church. Today they are going for choir practice. Tomorrow they are going for this. Today they are going for that. Right. Then there's the school, the teachers. Teachers will prevent an advocate like myself and my colleagues from speaking about comprehensive sexuality education or sexual and reproductive health and rights because we are saying I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. We are being fed with lots of information on a daily basis. Now, what to do with that information is the problem. And we want to tell these children what to consume and what not to consume, and also what to do with what they consume. But yes, that's basically how they put it. Let's be honest with ourselves.
So finally, to you, Aurelia, beyond what you're doing in your community, what more are you looking forward to the government, maybe the Ministry for Gender, Women, Social Protection, doing to ensure that we can stem the tide of teenage pregnancies?
Well, I think for starters, we should try and get children off the streets because 50% of the children we see begging for alms, they end up getting pregnant. They can't take care of themselves. How are they supposed to take care of their babies? To get the children off the streets in one way or the other, give them some skills training, some vocational training, and others. And then we can focus on how to take care of them. Because if they are still on the street, there's really no way we can take care of them. Then those who are in school, if care is not taken, they will end up on the streets because they are in school and they are not getting the information they need, the information we should be giving them. And also there are organizations that I have volunteered for, that I have worked for. A friend of mine is working on a project and we call it My Teen Life, myself and my friend. And we are doing our best, but really there's no funding.
Right.
And so we have to take money from our pockets or from our friends and do with what we can with that money. So if we get 1,000 CDs, that 1,000 CDs can reach about 300 children or 100 children. We work with that, and that is not enough. There are lots of organizations,
right,
for young people like myself. We are trying our best, but there's no funding. And so if there are ways to fund organizations like My Teen Life and all, we would be grateful.
Aurelia, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us, and all the best on that project. Aurelia Sowa Mensah there. Well, let's go to our very next story. And microfinance institutions, especially traditional susu collectors, are mostly characterized by paper and non-automated transactional processes. A new financial technology, MOBAD, is however aiding susu collectors to capture mobile transactions conveniently to save them adequate working hours. The technology is designed for the collectors to transact at no cost and without internet connectivity. Love FM's Emmanuel Bright Kweku has more on Tech Thursday.
The application, built on an AI technology known as OpenIT, allows innovators to design technological solutions tailored towards the specific needs of microfinance institutes. Project innovator Paul Opoku revealed the mobile application is easily accessible with a user-friendly interface.
On top of that same platform, we've built end-user applications. One of such applications is the MOBAD, which is both a hardware and software. So the MOBAD is just a terminal that mobile bankers use to log or capture transactions on the field. You can either print receipt or send SMS alert to customers. And it doesn't run on internet. It's a very intuitive interface.
After a pitching session at the Kumasi Hive's local pitch summit, the innovators of the software emerged winners, qualifying to the national pitch competition. They competed with other startup firms including Hypercut, a grocery and equipment purchasing app, and B Poku Farms, which is into the production of fertile poultry eggs. The participating startups underwent 17 weeks of intensive and interactive training to equip them with relevant skills to ready their businesses for investment. Project lead for the National Acceleration Program, Gertrude Mawina Gore, explained the training enhances startups to become more investor ready.
The acceleration program in its entirety is in 3 main phases. We have the pre-acceleration phase, which took the startups through a pitch session, pitching their businesses for them to be selected into the core phase. Then the core acceleration phase was more and then business development training. That took about 17 months. And then from the core acceleration training that has come to an end, the startups would proceed to the post-acceleration phase of the program, where they would be able to meet more investors and then have more opportunities in growing their business.
And that's for business, but that's for Tech Thursday, actually. We have business coming up next on the AM show. Do stay.
Time now for business here on News Desk. My name is Beverly Broom. In its quest to expand and bridge digitization gap in Ghana, GIZ Ghana has embarked on an initiative that will support persons with disability to take full advantage of the digital world. Through its initiative bent on ensuring financial inclusion in a competition dubbed FinTech Hackathon program that will provide a platform for persons with disability, bringing out the best in them.
FinTech Hackathon program is a digital innovation to generate ideas to ensure a friendly financial access to persons with disability. Its target is to provide security for these persons to independently conduct financial transactions without any challenges. Here is the component manager for GIZ Ghana's Inclusive FinTech Hackathon program, Angela Ama.
How can digital technology actually bridge this gap for us when it comes to accessing financial services? With the access of financial services, there's quite a number of barriers that persons with disability face. Some of them may be physical, some of them may be attitudinal barriers, for instance, with staff of sometimes financial institutions in terms of welcoming these persons with disability is a challenge. And some of them is digital, in terms of the digital tools or services that are provided by these institutions, how friendly they are, how assistive they are in terms of helping persons with disability to access financial services. So the main aim here is that these innovators will go through some kind of a competition with ideas that they have developed. We would select the best idea out of it all and support in further development of the idea that come up.
Head of International Relations for the Hackathon program, Paul Hostes, revealed that the Hackathon program will be introduced in other parts of the continent.
For some stakeholders, it's really a new topic, and we believe that especially why it is important to put it on the agenda and to do some activities. And we see today also that barriers of financial services can be a trigger for innovation. And we have these young startups here who came up with ideas in the last couple of days to show what's possible. And we intend to go that road further down.
The GIZ team will in the coming days take its financial literacy program to other parts of the country.
Scientists and researchers are being encouraged to find new reason in continuous collaboration in a bid to fashion out ways to address perennial farming challenges like pest, diseases and climate change impact. Ranking member for the Parliamentary Committee Select on Science, Technology and Innovation, Ebenezer Telabi, is optimistic such a move will enhance the fortunes of the agric sector. Emma Davis reports from Abuja, Nigeria.
Day 2 of the study tour by the African researchers discussed crops like cowpea, maize and rice. The scientists were passionate about the use of technology to increase production of these crops to feed the growing population on the continent.
Cowpea has a lot of challenges in terms of its production. It has a potential of 2,000 kilograms per hectare, but most times what we are harvesting in the farmers' fields is between 140 to 400 kg per hectare, which is far less than the potential. For you to see any cowpea in the market that you can like and say, let me buy this, know that the farmer may have sprayed not less than 10 times.
Ranking member for the Parliamentary Select Committee on Science, Technology and Innovation, Ebenezer Telabi, is part of the Ghanaian delegation.
We need to really, do
do much more than we are doing. And I believe that our coming year, it's a learning process. We have been, giving the leads. We are charged to go back and make sure that these, products, it usually be that it usually take us more than a month or two to get this thing approved. Because the environment is not being favorable. I mean, rainfall patterns are changing. We are having new diseases. What else can science do? But to rise up and solve the problems.
My name is Emma Davis, reporting for Joy Business from Abuja, Nigeria.
That'll be all for business. Kindly do log on to myjoyonline.com/business for more stories. Up next is sports.